Hey guys, welcome to Waste Away through Intermittent Fasting. We are on episode, I never know what episode we're on.
35.
We're on episode number 35, and we have our amazing guest who is by popular demand. We get emails all the time. When is Dr. Scott coming back on? When is he coming back on? Nice. So you are super, super popular. Everyone loves you. And I was just telling Dr. Scott, we have people who just asked a question 3 days ago, and they're like, when's my question going to be answered? When's my question? So they're anxious for their questions to be answered.
Well, we're going to answer them.
Yes. So let's start with question number 1. It says, this is from Rhian in Las Vegas, Nevada. Before I started IF, I was addicted to sugar. Now when I skip the sugar in my coffee or tea in the morning, before I break my fast at 12 p.m., I get really tired and I have headaches. I've only been really committed for about a week or two. So would you recommend I just keep pushing through? What's your suggestion?
Pretty much. Anytime you answer these questions, you have to kind of, I don't know your medical history and, if you're really dropping your blood sugar too low and all those kinds of things. But in general, when you're fasting and you're just getting into it, you just have to train your body. So she's just having low blood sugar. And that's why, and she was, especially when you're addicted to sugar, you probably didn't have good blood sugar management to begin with.
And intermittent fasting will help you manage that blood sugar.
But you got to work into it.
Yeah, you got to work into it.
It's like you go to the gym, you lift all this weights, you get really sore the next day. So you got to slowly work in. The more you work out, the stronger you get. And same thing with intermittent fasting. The more you do it, your body gets more efficient, and you can start manage your blood sugar longer and longer and longer.
Well, and the other thing is that there have been studies that say that sugar is as addictive as cocaine. Have you read studies like that?
Maybe more so, yeah.
And, it's like even my son, these kids, it's sugar is their drug of choice. When I want to punish him because he didn't do something right, I'm like, you're grounded from sugar for 3 days. Yeah. And he's begging to have some sugar. It's really bad.
It's a big problem with our society. And, one of the things I tell all my patients is that, for the most part, from the time you're born to the time they meet me and I try to get them off sugar, they've never been off, quote, carbohydrate metabolism. Mm-hmm. So, when you're a baby, you're drinking mother's milk, and that's sugar, right? Or, lactase. And then you go to juices, and then fruits, and then grains. And then before you know it, that's the way you live. And our bodies actually have two main types of metabolism. You have the sugar burning metabolism, then you have the fat burning metabolism. And our body's really designed to be in the fat burning metabolism. Genetically, through history, our ancestors didn't have access to heavy carbohydrates all the time. So that's a big problem.
And the thing is that back to this analogy of the sugar and cocaine, it alters your mood. And I just read a study that said that they've done a study on rats, and that the rats were more addicted to the sugar than they were the cocaine, which is scary to think that. Yeah. And so it kind of pulls you back to kind of say, so let's do this just for fun. This is going to be kind of a wild episode today. We've got some really great treats for you today. First of all, I do want to say this to you, Rhian, in Vegas. One of the things I want to suggest to you, I just made this amazing cup of coffee, and at the end of the show, I'm going to make this cup of coffee for you. I just did it today for the first time. I added a tablespoon of cinnamon. I added some Himalayan pink salt and 1 tablespoon of coconut.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah, and so here, I wanted to show you this. I actually, right now, am on a prolonged fast. So when we talk about this, and I don't want to scare people when I say this, because people will be like, oh my gosh, there's no way I'm doing a 3-day fast, right? But I just really wanted to kind of heal my body and do a detox. So in my book, I talk about, for intermittent fasting, it's 24 hours or less. That's what I consider. Yep. Prolonged fast would be 1 to 3 days, and an extended fast is 3 days plus. So right now, I'm on a prolonged fast. I'm doing a 3-day fast, and I stopped eating Saturday at 3, okay? On Sunday at 4:45, I checked my blood sugar. It was at a 77. Monday from 8 a.m. after my workout, I tested my blood, and it actually went up to a 90. Yeah. And then at 5:30, I tested my blood sugar. It went to 73. But what I did was I just today I just checked my blood sugar. I had it before, and again, this is all in the fasted state.
Yep.
I checked my blood sugar. It was at 75 before I had a cup of coffee. As soon as I had a cup of coffee with coconut oil, it dropped down to 66. So almost 10 points that it dropped back. I've done this at least a ton of times. Every time I drink a cup of coffee with coconut oil, it immediately drops my blood sugar by 10.
So we talked about this a little bit earlier, but it just kind of hit me the why that may be happening. Two things. Number one, when you drink coffee, it actually releases, helps your body break fat into your bloodstream. Okay. So when you drink coffee, that caffeine can stimulate breakdown of fat, which gives you, fat into your bloodstream for energy. And then coconut oil is one of those oils that can be used. It's got some medium chain triglycerides in it, which means that it can be used like sugar. So when you eat coconut oil or medium chain triglyceride oil, you automatically you don't need blood sugar because your body's using almost 100% of that oil. That's probably what's happening is when you put that coconut oil in, then your body just starts using that and it doesn't even need the blood sugar.
Yeah. So we're going to make these charts and we'll put these on. I'd really like for you to go to our YouTube channel and find this so you can we're actually recording this so you can actually see some of this stuff. But again, then I have this new machine. It's called Keto Mojo. With the ketones, before the coffee, I was at 2.1, which is really good. Yeah. And then went to a 2.4 after the coffee. So that means after I drank the coffee, I was adding more fat. I was in more of a ketosis state. This chart,
and that's with the coconut oil as well?
So that was, So before the coffee, I was at 2.1.
So it bumped up your ketones.
About 45 minutes later, after I drank it, it bumped my ketones up to a 2.4. Yeah. So that means I was in more of a fat burning state after I drank that coffee with coconut oil, which is really... So I want you to talk about this chart for just a second. For the listeners, I'll put this chart again. This will be on YouTube. So you might want to just listen to this episode on our YouTube channel, which is Chantel Ray Way. If you Google that into YouTube, you'll see it. But my suggestion, what they say is, between 1.5 and 3 is kind of optimal ketosis. Even, 0.5 to 1.5 is where that, well, you tell me, where do you think this, the ketosis is?
To be honest with you, I've not gotten that deep into it as far as looking at these numbers. My approach has always just been,
are you in ketosis?
Well, yeah, just kind of getting into it and, cutting your carbs down to the point where you start to feel that energy and you start to feel clear and you just feel like you're in ketosis. And I haven't really done too much testing, to be honest with you. And I haven't gotten too deep into where if you get into starvation ketosis and things like that. So I don't have too much input on that really.
Yeah. So I have, and I've done a lot of studies on that. I will actually answer that question.
Cool.
A little bit later because we have a question about it. So I'll answer it a little bit later on that. But just for fun, let's go ahead and maybe we should do this at the end. Let's do this part at the end because it'll take a little bit.
Okay, so let's do that. Let's
do questions. Let's go ahead and do some questions. All right. So this next one is from Andrea in Tennessee. She says, I can't stand plain water. I heard your podcast that you talked about all the different acceptable drinks during a fast and found it really helpful. There's one drink you didn't address, which is club soda. I love some fizz and I feel like it would be okay since there aren't any calories or flavors. What do you think?
Cool. Yeah, I have no problem with that.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
But another great thing is look at a mineral water. So, a lot of mineral waters have fizz, but you're getting lots of minerals.
That's a great idea.
So soda water is just water that they stick CO2 in or whatever to pump it up. But if you get, and the mineral water is expensive, I guess. But as far as health concerns and that's the only suggestion I would take.
And I've heard two different people say different things. So I've heard some people say, when I drink club soda, it actually takes away my hunger. And so those whatever the bubbles are in the club soda makes them more full. Then I've heard other people say, When I drink club soda, I'm now more hungry.
Yeah.
So I've heard kind of half and half. What have you heard
No,
it either way?
I don't have any.
So you're
input
just
on
going to
that.
have to
Yeah.
experiment with yourself
Yeah.
and see what does the club soda do.
But if it works,
to you.
it works.
Yeah, if it works
Yeah.
and you love it,
I don't see any problem with club soda.
go ahead and go for it. All right, next question. Michelle in Richmond. She said, I love your podcast and all the time you spend addressing the thyroid and hormonal issues. I suffer with PCOS and will go months without a period. But the best thing happened when I started intermittent fasting. My period became monthly and regular. I'm so thankful for IF and this podcast. What is the science behind it?
So what's happening when you're fasting is it's just helping your body regulate blood sugar. Just like we were talking in the beginning, you're looking at your numbers and how the more you do it, your body gets more efficient. So PCOS is a blood sugar problem. So it's excess insulin production, excess blood sugar floating around the blood, and that's part of what's causing these polycystic ovary issues and also throwing your hormones off. So when your blood sugar fluctuates, this puts stress on the adrenal glands. And the adrenals are critical for proper hormone balance. So your adrenals make two hormones. One's called DHEA, those others called progesterone. And these are kind of like your building blocks. So especially when people are going through menopause and their ovaries start to kind of shut down, the adrenals need to kick in. And most Americans, their adrenals are just stressed. So when you start fasting, it helps your blood sugar become more stable. And that's what's helping the cycle and the PCOS.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I agree with that 100%.
Yeah.
It's just that, PCOS is really connected to insulin resistance. And it's been proven that IF is great for stabilizing that. So
I was actually reading a study the other day that was showing that they've found that fasting can actually improve type 1 diabetics. So it can actually help the pancreas regain the insulin producing cells.
And the more studies we do on fasting,
Yeah.
the better things come. So
Yeah, it's total.
All right, let's go to question number 4. It says, I've been really trying hard to stick with the 80-20 and eat as many whole foods as possible. I'd love to buy only organic fruits and veggies, but my budget doesn't always allow that. Can I get the same benefits from canned and frozen veggies and save some money? Erin in Nashville.
So canned, I'd say no. Frozen, yes. But when it comes to organic, if you eat 80-20, I find that your grocery bill actually goes down when you're eating a lot of vegetables. Now, if you're eating organic, it is more expensive than conventional. So yeah, you have to make those choices.
I just actually put a garden in my
There you
side
go.
yard. So I'm so excited about that. But
that's even cheaper, right? A little bit of work.
yes,
it's cheaper in
it's
terms
cheaper
of
and
going
more
to the
work.
grocery store, spending your money,
Absolutely.
but it's
so
more
that is
expensive
an
in time.
option that she could do.
Yeah.
But obviously the very best thing for her to do would be to do her veggies in her own garden if she can.
Yeah.
But the thing is that the longer the plant is away from harvesting, the more they're going to lose their nutrients. So that means that if you had a choice between eating it fresh or eating it frozen, there are some nutrients you're going to lose just from that. Even if you juice, a lot of these, a lot of these juice places, you have to be really careful because they'll juice these things and then they'll keep them for 6-7 days.
Yeah.
Well, every day so you have to look at the date that they made that juice.
Yep.
Every day that it sits there, like for me, if it's been sitting there for 3 days, sometimes they'll put it on clearance. I'm like, no, thank you. Because now every day I'm losing more and more nutrients in it. And so, that's one thing. But if they are picked and immediately processed and put frozen, then you are getting a lot of those benefits. It just depends on.
The way I understand it is that as long as they process it properly and freeze them fairly quickly, freezing will retain a large amount of nutrients. But then, if it's like been sitting in the freezer forever and it's like got freezer burn and, you're not doing too good. But in general, I think frozen's a more convenient option that's the better choice than canning. Canning's probably your worst.
Yeah, and you do need to make sure when you're doing the canning that you're looking for the ones that don't have that BPA.
That's right.
The BPA free lining is what you're looking for with the cans. So,
but even there, I mean, I know there's other problems with canning. And,
yeah. I just think fresh is always the best.
Yeah, and the thing I always tell my patients is, just do the best you can. Try to do I don't do everything perfect. None of us do.
Yeah.
So it's not like I never eat a canned item, but when I'm making choices, I want to try to go organic.
Yes.
And I know that just buying organic is going to help support organic farmers. And the more we support organic farmers, then it's more available. Where if you don't buy the organic stuff, then the grocery stores aren't going to carry it. Not to mention, it is the best for you as far as avoiding pesticides and optimizing nutrition.
Well, like the other day, I bought some coconut milk in the can because that's one thing that you've kind of got to get in the can, right?
Yeah.
And I make sure that it's organic and I make sure that it has that BPA-free lining.
Yep.
But there's a difference between so that I bought by accident. I picked up. There's one called Free. Matter of fact, I'm going to get it real quick. I'm going to show it to you.
Okay.
So mark this one down. Okay, so here's two different organic coconut milks. Okay,
Yep.
This one's organic and this one's organic. And actually, you can find this exact same brand. It says organic coconut milk, and then it'll say simple.
Yep.
If it says simple on here, that means that, see how it says no guar gum?
Yeah.
This one is fair trade organic coconut milk unsweetened, but what's in here is organic coconut milk and filtered water and organic guar gum.
Yeah.
Guar gum is terrible for you.
Totally.
It's terrible for your gut.
Yeah.
And so normally you'd eat something like this and be like, oh, I'm doing great. But this one's a little bit more expensive. But I make sure, it says gluten-free, non-GMO, organic, but that's the number one thing. The only ingredients, you've got to get the one that says simple.
Yeah.
Because if not, the only thing that's in here is organic coconut milk. And it's like they add that guar gum to make it, I guess, more thicker
Yep.
and stuff like that. But it's so bad for your gut and your gut health.
And it's all these little things that, people just don't know.
They don't know.
They just don't know.
Yes.
That's just, every time I'm working with patients and we had these conversations, and it's just, there's so much stuff hidden in our food, and the average person just
doesn't know.
How would you
it.
know? You think you're doing the right thing. You're buying organic.
Yes.
And then little do you know, you got to read the labels.
Yes, exactly.
Yep.
All right, question 5. Since I've been fasting, I'm constantly getting cramps in my feet and legs. Is this normal? Peter in Georgia.
Drink more water. I think a lot of times when you're fasting, you end up becoming dehydrated.
Yes,
So
I agree.
that's common. And as far as cramping, magnesium and sea salt.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So salt, magnesium, and potassium deficiency would probably be the main things. I would say a huge amount of the population is potassium and magnesium deficient.
For sure.
So
for magnesium does so many different things in the body. It's like just list after list.
And we did
after
a video,
list.
if you go onto our YouTube channel, that talks about the top 10 things that have magnesium and the top 10 things that have potassium, because people are so deficient in that.
Yeah.
Okay. April in New York. It says, in Chantel's book, she talks about eating whole foods like fruits and veggies, really natural stuff. However, a lot of people say we shouldn't be eating fruits because of the sugar and carbs, ultimately the fructose. I'm worried it will keep me out of ketosis or fat burning state.
So, number one, yes, it will. But the biggest thing I tell people with fruit is it really just depends on your goals and what you're doing. So if you're trying to get into ketosis, then fruit is high in sugar. And if you're eating a lot of fruit and you're eating high glycemic fruits like bananas and melons and things like that, then that will definitely affect you. But, if you're an athlete and you're doing a lot of, long distance biking or running or something like that, then as far as your carbohydrates, fruit's probably going to be fine for you. But if you're really trying to get into ketosis, then you got to cut the fruits out.
Yeah, and fruits are not pure fructose. So they're more of a combination of fructose and glucose. And so it's really the refined sugars that you want to keep an eye on, but you definitely still don't want to go crazy on that fruit. I do go crazy on fruit sometimes, honestly. I am a little out of control with it. I love fruit. And so I have to be careful with it.
It's what it is. It's just that way to get the sugar in. So, we all have that craving for sugar.
Yeah.
And what a lot of people do when they're trying to be healthy is they cut out added sugars, but then they keep eating fruit because they think, oh, well, fruit's healthy. But when I'm really working with someone who's got blood sugar issues, and really trying to get them maybe off metformin or insulin, got to cut the fruit. You got to cut the fruit and really keep it low. And that's for those people.
The fruit has a lot of water. It has a lot of fiber. It has a lot of nutrients. So it's all about moderation. And you've got to make sure that you're not going crazy with it sure.
It just depends. Like I said, everybody's different, and you just got to look at people's genetics. So, the thing I try to help my patients understand is that, a lot of us didn't have access to fruit all the time. So if we lived in the north here, there's not much fruit growing out there. Now, if you're someone whose ancestors came from the Mediterranean or somewhere south where there's fruit growing year round, then you may be able to handle that more. So really, fruit should be a specialty, and it shouldn't be something we have access to. So now in our modern world, we've got stuff being shipped from Guatemala, and we got access to it 24/7. But really, it should be seasonal, and you should go a long period of time where you're really in a fat burning metabolism, not eating any fruit.
Yeah.
And then you get apple season, or you get figs growing, and then you get a little thing, and you jar them, you can them, you make some pies, but then that's not gonna last forever. But now in our modern world, we just have 100% access, and that's a problem for some people.
Yeah, that's very true. All right, question 7. I love the podcast and I love intermittent fasting. I have averaged 1 to 2 pounds a week for 3 months. The problem is my family isn't a fan. What would you say to family members who are just constantly saying it's not good for you? And then it says, I'm having my family saying they're doubtful and it's not sustainable or healthy. They're concerned about my metabolism being ruined and say that I'm not eating enough. What do you say to the haters? Jade in Norfolk.
So a couple comments there. Number one is that when you're fasting, if you're intermittent fasting, it's very important to eat. So intermittent fasting can be used to lower your total calorie intake, but that will slow your metabolism down. So what I try to coach people on is say, when you fast, don't eat, but then when you eat. And that actually keeps your metabolism up. So there's 2 ways to increase your metabolism. One is to eat, and the other is to exercise. Now, if you want to lower your metabolism, then don't eat. The thing that's beautiful about intermittent fasting is that you're not just lowering your calories for an extended period of time, you're breaking it with eating. And that's what keeps you from lowering your metabolism. So when people generally go through a phase of trying to lose weight, they'll cut their calories and they'll lose a few pounds, but then they plateau. Because your metabolism's here and your calories are here, and you drop your calories and your metabolism's higher, and then your metabolism kind of matches it. And then you cut your calories more, and then your metabolism drops again. So
people say crazy things all the time. Like they say, if you don't eat, you're going to go hypoglycemic, you're going to die, and that's just not understanding. Things. Yeah. And there's a couple of things with that. So number one, a lot of people just like to follow what everybody else is doing. So it just, she's saying she's losing 1 to 2 pounds a week. Yeah. So if they're saying, oh, it's going to ruin your metabolism, it's like,
why am I losing weight?
Why am I losing 1 to 2 pounds a week then? If this is
if people go on starvation diets, where they're cutting their calories drastically, then that will break your metabolism over time. But like I said, if you're intermittent fasting, when you're eating, if you eat a big meal in between that fast, that bumps your metabolism back up, and that throws that whole thing out of play. And then as far as them thinking that it's unhealthy and things like that, a lot of times people just feel like it makes them feel bad about themselves because you're doing something good for your health and they're not. So they're trying to break you down and say, well, that's not healthy, or just to make themselves feel better. So,
if you think about it, if you go to surgery, they tell you, the doctor says, right? What does the doctor say? Don't eat, right? They say if you get a colonoscopy or they want fasting blood work, they might say, we want you fasting for 24 hours or whatever it is before. Do any of them go in? Are the doctors saying, oh my God, I'm worried about you getting hypoglycemic or having a seizure or losing brain function? No. And so the doctors do tell you from time to time to go ahead and fast. They're not worried about you getting hypoglycemic or any of these other things. They're saying make sure you don't eat. So again, if the other doctor goes, oh, well, yeah, you're going to get hypoglycemic if you don't eat for this certain amount of time, well, why'd you tell me to fast? You see what I'm saying?
Well,
it's ridiculous.
Again, for us, we've been studying this stuff and we understand how it's healthy. But trying to convince your family may be a little bit different. Have them watch a podcast.
They need to listen to the podcast.
They need to read.
They need to hear it from somebody else.
Yeah.
Because,
But fasting is so much more natural than our modern way of eating. So when we're eating, 3 meals a day, every day, that's not really how we evolved.
Right.
Years ago, you would go through periods where you didn't have food.
Right.
And that's when, like you said, you go through this extended fast and your body starts healing. You start cleaning out, damaged tissues. Your immune system gets totally rebooted. That's normal and that's natural. What's unnatural is having 100% access to food all the time. So, but
one
it's just
of the
what
analogies I say is like one time I had this shirt and for whatever reason I loved it, and my husband was like, hun, that shirt does not look good on you. And I was like, oh, I just love it. I love it. And then I went to work one day and someone was like, oh, I do not like that shirt. And I mean, that shirt was in the trash the next day, right? But sometimes the people closest to you, they don't listen. You don't listen to the people that's closest to you. They need to hear it from somebody else. So giving them podcasts, giving them YouTube videos, sharing things with them, then they'll listen. All right, Tina in Texas. Will drinking BCAAs after my 6 a.m. workout break my fast? If so, when should I have it?
I don't know. It depends on your theory of fasting. So there's different types of fasting. I like to do not eating anything or any calories or anything.
Right.
So branched amino acids can be, your body can use
You can have
that.
between 60 to 120 calories depending on what kind of BCAAs, what that
and
is.
your body can convert that to sugar. You can take proteins and those amino acids and convert them. So I don't know.
First,
I'd say it's probably fine depending on how much you're taking, but.
Well, first of all, BCAAs, for those of you who don't know, are amino acids, and amino acids are macronutrients, and they make up of what we call proteins. So by definition, if you take BCAAs, either if you take them in tablet form or powder form, technically you're eating. And so 1 gram of BCAAs has about 6 calories. So that means if you take 20 grams of BCAAs in the morning, you're consuming about 120 calories without realizing that you've taken it. If you consume 10 grams, you're now taking 60 calories. If you take 20, so 20, you've got 120 calories. 10, you've got 60 calories. And so that means that you are eating something. And so we're trying to get your body into a total fasted state. If you have to have it, I always tell people, if you're not going to do it, then go ahead and have those 60 calories. But my opinion is just take that BCAA supplement when you are ending your fast.
Well, see, I think the other issue here would be, so she's probably taking this branched chain amino acids because it's supposed to be good after your workout. And supplying, the amino acids, the essential amino acids that our body needs to rebuild proteins. But when you're fasting, that's not, your body creates other chemicals and hormones that helps protect your muscle mass when you're fasting. So you don't really need to take in branched chain amino acids or any kind of food to build muscle during a fast. So just the act of fasting alone will help send out certain signals into your body to say, let's preserve muscle while we're going through our fast. So you don't really need to take that in that sense.
I feel like, for me, I don't take any BCAAs. I don't take anything. I do work out. But I will tell you, I have more muscle mass on my body since doing intermittent fasting than I ever have, than shoving all that protein down my throat.
Totally.
Question 9. The other day I got into a fight with my husband about the stupidest thing. I was so embarrassed that I freaked out afterwards. And then I was thinking about it and noticed a pattern of when I do my longer fast, I tend to get super angry, usually right around 20 to 24 hours, and I take it out on the ones I love. I'm not just talking about being irritable or edgy. I get straight up angry. Is there anyone out there who also struggles with this? And what is the cause? I would greatly appreciate any help, and so would my husband, LOL. This is
That's
anonymous.
classic.
That's great. She doesn't say who it is. Or, yeah, it's a she. All right,
Again,
what would you say?
That's blood sugar again. So, when your blood sugar starts to drop, you're going to start to get, either emotional or, people get, like they say, hangry when they're hungry.
Yes.
And that's just a sign. So when people tell me, look, if I don't eat, I get angry. Right away, I'm saying blood sugar, man. You're not managing your blood sugar. Your body's not keeping the blood sugar stable when you're not eating. And you've gotten so attached to eating constantly, you need to fast more. So that's probably the end of what she's capable of fasting. Your blood sugar is starting to drop at that point. So the more you do it, again, you'll get more adapted, and your body will be able to handle that blood sugar drop. It won't drop as much the more you fast. So just keep doing it. It's like working out.
Yeah. It's so funny because I was at work and I was doing a longer fast, and I could just tell myself, I could tell I was just getting like this, and I was getting very edgy, and this happens to me too. And one of the guys I work with, because everyone knows, like, coconut water for me is like, I don't know what happens, but if I get I work right across the street from Whole Foods. Yeah. So I go get this coconut straight from Whole Foods. Yeah. They poke a hole in it, and I pour the coconut water straight out of the coconut. Yeah. And I'm telling you, that to me is like crack cocaine. Like, it's like I light up like a light bulb, and I'm just so happy. And I guess I was getting kind of edgy about something. And one of my coworkers came to me. He said, "Chantel, can I go walk across the street and get you a coconut water?" And I was thinking to myself, oh gosh, I'm getting, and I started laughing. I started laughing hysterically. I said, I'm getting edgy, aren't I? And they just smiled, and I said, yeah, do you mind going and get me a coconut water?
But there's a lot of sugar in coconut water.
It's so much sugar. I know.
It's natural, but again, it's just like fruit. It's natural. It's good. It's got minerals. But again, you just have to manage your intakes. If you're going to eat a certain amount of carbohydrates in your diet and you've chosen to do that, coconut water is a great one. Yeah. Fruit's a great one. But
I will tell you, when I have that coconut water, it stabilizes when I do
it's got magnesium.
It has everything I need, and
it's great.
It keeps me from then eating other sugars.
Bad stuff.
Going and having chocolate
as far as
bars
sugars
and
go,
stuff.
But if you're trying to say I don't want any sugar and I want to really get into ketosis, coconut water doesn't work.
Yeah, and I do think it all boils down to the fight or flight mode. Like when your blood glucose is low because you don't eat, your brain sees that lack of glucose as a threat to its safety. And so what happens is your brain kind of does a counter response, and that's when kind of the adrenals kick in, and how emotional or sensitive you are will determine how you react when you're fasting. So I think that that is a really big thing, and I have to. But
it will get better.
Yes.
So again, when you first start fasting, that's a normal response, and if you're making 24 hours, that's pretty good. But do that for a little while until your body starts to adapt to it. Then you can try to do a longer fast.
Yes, absolutely. All right, question 10. I've been hearing a lot about fasting, bringing you into ketosis, and all the different ways we can track your ketone levels. I bought some strips and was wondering if you think it's the best way to test my levels. Also wondering what the ideal ketone levels are to have. Wanda, this was the question I was talking about. So this is the time that I really want to go into this. And so, as far as the test strips go, you can test with a urine strip, but the blood glucose monitor obviously is the best way to do it. And what I've seen, and I don't know if you have, is that when your body really becomes efficient in utilizing ketones, you aren't going to register on the urine strips anymore. So when you first start going into ketosis, those urine strips are great because they work. Yeah. But as your body gets used to it, it doesn't register like it needs to, and that's why you really need to get one of these. So we're gonna go ahead and do this now. We're gonna go ahead and see what my ketones are, what Dr. Scott's is. We're going to video this. So this is the Keto Mojo. This is one that I think is really, really good. So we'll test mine before I change the needle, since I just did it a while ago. So like I said before, I did it earlier today, probably around 11 o'clock, I think it was. I was at a 2.1. I then had that coffee with coconut oil, and I was at a 2.4. So it's probably been about another 2 hours maybe since I've had that coffee.
Yep.
And so we'll just see where I'm at right now. And like I said, right now I'm in a prolonged fast. I'm coming up on my 3 days. I wanted to try to do a 3-day fast to see how it was. So all you do is just stick the test strip in there. Okay, so I'm gonna check mine right now. Okay, so it's counting down 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And I'm at 2.4, so I'm exactly the same as I was a couple hours ago from having that coffee. So if you look on the chart.
So what does this thing cost?
This is about $65 on Amazon.
It's not bad.
And so when you look at these blood ketones, what they say is that you want to be around 1.5 to 3. That's when you're like really like in massive ketosis. But really 0.5 to 1.5 is also, it's still really good. But that's kind of the beginning stages of where you are. So when was the last time that you ate?
So I just ate, and I had like a smoothie with fruit, and I'm not even sure what I put in there. I got some, like, somebody gave me these like protein powder type things, which I usually don't use, and I just said, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and just use this, and I just put it in there, and I blended it all up, and I drank that. So I shouldn't be in ketosis at all.
Yeah, so let's just see what
now, this morning I got up and I went straight to the gym and I worked out.
Yeah.
So I might have been in a little bit then.
Let's just see what it is. So with this machine, once you change the thing out, you just pull this out just like this. And like I said, if you're listening right now, you can go ahead and watch this on YouTube, because you will want to watch this, because this is an episode you don't want to just listen to. You actually want to go ahead and do it. So I'll let you prick yourself.
All right.
And we'll just see where you are.
Come on, bleed.
So one of the things that you also can check on your monitor, there you go, that'll be enough.
All right, there we go.
Go ahead and put that on there, and we'll see what his is. While he's doing that,
cool.
While he's doing that, it'll just be counting down. The other thing that you can check is when you pull this out, you can see if this is down too deep.
Oh,
That's another piece that can go in there. And okay, so he's at 0.5. So that's actually for him just having like a fruit smoothie.
Right.
Because really where you should try to be in it, like for me, I'm in a 3-day fast, right? So the fact that you are at a 0.5 to 1.5, that just shows how great your diet is, and how well you're taking care of your body. So even though you just had this fruit smoothie, you're at a 0.5.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So and I think that's one of the things I try to help people understand is that once you, just like with blood sugar.
So that means you're fat adaptive. Your
exactly.
body,
I can go in and out.
Yeah, you can go in and out, and you are doing great. So keep going. I cut you off.
Yeah, that's what I tell people is that, like, once you get good at it and you've been doing it for a long time, you should be able to switch back and forth fairly quickly. So like this morning, when I got up, I was probably in a more of a ketosis state, and I didn't eat anything. I went straight to the gym. I rode my bike. So I'm burning through any glucose stores and glycogen I have in my muscle. I go to the gym, I work out, I ride my bike back, so I'm burning through all that. And then the little bit of glucose I had, or carbs I had from the smoothie, probably wasn't enough to really, it probably kicked me out a little bit. But, I was probably a lot higher in that right before I went to the gym. So you should be able to go back and forth.
Okay, so now for fun, I like this one right here. It's called One Touch Vario Flex. And now for fun, we're going to check our blood sugar just to see what that is. And that will be interesting because obviously I'm in a fasted state.
Yep.
Like I said before, I did have that coffee, so it's going to bring me down, but it's been a little while. So I'm curious to see where we're at on that level now that I've had that. So let's just see what my blood sugar is. Okay, so let's kind of really get in here. Ooh,
You're bleeding.
Really bleeding. Okay. So right here, so I'm at 65, which is low, which is very low. And the reason why I'm so low is because I had that coffee. So even now, so back to this, I just checked it. Remember? I checked it earlier. So I had that coffee. I started at 75. I was at 66. Yeah. It's still from having that coffee with the coconut, it's bringing my blood sugar down. So
and the key there is if you could get into the 60s and not feel bad. Yes. So that means that you're probably burning it. You're burning some of those other ketones. You're burning some other, the MCT oils. You're burning some of that stuff.
Yeah, so I have a chart that I made that I want people to see. It's kind of a blood sugar chart that talks about kind of where you're at. So this is just something I grabbed, and it says that your normal when you're fasting is between 80 and 100, and I do not agree with that. I think normal is between when you're fasted is more like 70 to 90 in my personal when you're fasting.
And I would agree 100%.
Yeah, 70 to 90 is the right one.
Yeah.
And then they talk about what you should be after you're eating. I think if you're higher than 90 when you're fasted, that's a little bit of a red flag. Like
it's insulin resistance.
Yeah, we need to check that.
Yep.
But absolutely, if you're more than 100, you need to. That means you are definitely you've got some issues going on there. And then if you're 125 over, you better run to the doctor and do not pass go.
No, I agree. So when I look at blood work for my patients, I'm looking at 90. I like to see around 85 fasting. 100, 95 plus, not good.
It's so interesting to see what your blood sugar is. And the thing is, like you said, I'm at 65 right now, but I'm not lightheaded. I'm actually fine, but I've gotten myself to the point that I really can be there. But I would say for me, when I check my blood sugar in a fasted state, almost always, if you look, I'm between 73, 75, 77. That's kind of where I stay. That's where you want to be. Yeah. That's kind of where I stay. So,
but I'll tell you, blood sugar management is such a key factor in so many health-related things.
Yes.
And it's such a big problem in our current society because we've all become so addicted to carbohydrates because it's a quick source of energy, it tastes good, and we have access to it all the time. And like I said, our ancestors we're built with this craving for these quick energy carbohydrates, but they're not supposed to be there all the time.
So now we're going to test your blood sugar, okay?
Let's see.
To see what you are at. And like you said, how long was it before you had that smoothie? So I'm putting you on the highest one. You're going on number 7.
Yeah, that's cool. Probably an hour.
All right, let me give you this. And you can go ahead and...
So just push the white button?
The white one, yep.
Okay.
And we're going to go ahead and test his and see where he's at. My machine, it keeps track of what you're at, so it's going to be like, wait, what's going on?
I'll do it.
Okay. Yeah.
So where do I put it?
Right here. You're going to put it right there.
Side there?
Uh-huh. There you go.
Cool.
All right. So he's at 85. Wow.
Perfect.
After a fruit smoothie.
Nice.
That is so good. Oh my gosh. Dr. Scott is in optimal health. That's very, very impressive for you to be right there.
You got to practice what you preach. So, but just like you have all these gadgets, you're doing this stuff. So when when it's something that you really enjoy and it's your passion, you know, so I try. I don't recommend anything to my patients I haven't tried myself.
Yeah. So what I want to do
You know?
right now, actually, we're going to take a quick little hiatus because we're going to answer some more shows.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to check your blood again. Okay.
Oh, cool.
Because I just want to see what happens.
yeah,
so we
yeah.
just tested yours. It was at 85.
Yep.
And then we're going to test in a little bit. So let's come. I'm going to show you guys my favorite new drink that I made today. This is one of I have some amazing new recipes I'm doing right now, but this is one of my really favorite proteins. It's organic plant protein. And so if you look at the ingredients in it, it's not fantastic, but it's like the best of the, you know what I mean? Because
Exactly.
all these have tons of chemicals, but again, it's the best that you can possibly get.
Well, the thing I
It's
tell
one of the
people
top ones.
about protein powders is pretty much try to eat real food, right? So
Yes.
that's your key. But like I said, before I came here, what did I do? You know, someone gave me something like this, and I was just like, you know what? I'm just gonna throw it in here and blend it up with some berries and some mushroom powder, and you know, and drink it. But normally I don't. You know, I wouldn't do that too often. I don't make a habit.
I'm gonna take about a tablespoon, and normally I would measure it out,
Yeah.
but I don't have one to measure out right now. And then I'm gonna do another tablespoon of, and you just wanna keep stirring that. And then I'm just gonna add some pink Himalayan sea salt
Nice.
and just like 3 little grinds.
You know, when you put a little bit of sea salt in your coffee, it really takes the bitterness away.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so that's a little trick. Just a little bit of salt in your coffee will really help.
All right, so take a sip of that and tell me what you think.
All right. It smells great. It's awesome.
Isn't that delicious?
Yeah.
It's the combination of 3. I literally just whooped it up this morning. That's the only thing
That's
I've had
awesome.
in 3 days. 3 days I just had
Yeah.
that coconut oil.
That's
All right, so let's go back
Cool.
over. That is
I'll get a
awesome.
picture.
Yeah, can you take it? Okay, so I want to kind of talk about this blood, this keto, the keto mojo for just a second. So some people say that if you are below 0.5, so if you look on this chart right here,
Yep.
they say if you're below 0.5, that you are barely in ketosis and you're creating ketone bodies and they're just registering in the blood, you're just not in the optimal range. And that could be, you know, because your carbs are too high or your fats aren't high enough. Because like, as I said, remember when I took my test, the only thing I did different to go it was in 45 minutes from 2.1 to 2.4 is I added 1 tablespoon of coconut oil.
Yeah.
And so if your fats aren't high enough, you don't have the ability to create the ketones that you want to.
True.
And so you also want to find out that your ketone levels are lower in the morning. So depending on when you check this, so I checked it the other day in the morning and I was only at like a 1.1.
Yeah.
So that definitely makes, so what I would do if you're going to check your ketones, definitely do it in that afternoon. And then I would make sure that, you know, you don't go crazy about it, but if you want to check it, between 1.5 to 3.0 is where you want to be, but anything 0.5 and above, that's still good.
So a couple other little tricks that you can look at is sometimes, you know, when I'm working with people and we really try to get them down into ketosis and get their blood sugar or get their carbohydrates down to try to kick them into fat burning metabolism, some people just can't do it. So they're like, and I say, you know, give it a little bit of time. You know, first you're going to feel low energy, you're going to feel worse, but then your body will kick in. And some people just don't really kick in. So 2 things you would look for is number 1, too much protein.
Yes,
So if
I'm
you're
so
eating-
glad you did that because we've
yeah.
seen people, if
Yeah.
they're eating too much protein, their ketones.
Yeah, so when you eat too much protein, your body can convert protein to glucose. It's
when
hard,
you
but it
cut
can
the
do
protein and increase the fats, we've
Yep.
seen people's ketone numbers go up.
And the other thing is that, there's enzymes that are needed to create ketones. So some people their bodies have never really utilized these enzyme pathways, so they don't kick in. So they're stuck in that low blood sugar, feeling horrible state, and they can't get through it. And I don't just tell people just keep pushing. You got to take a break. So if you can't get in, then stop, go back to eating a little more carbs, and then try again. And generally what it takes is a couple cycles of that before people all of a sudden they start getting into it.
Yeah.
So those are the two things I found is that one, and it's rare, most people kick in, most people do it, but I've had a few patients that over the years that they struggled, and I was like, what's going on here? And that's what we had to do. Give them a couple cycles of it and make sure they cut protein, increase fat. And it's so hard for people to really understand that I need to eat more fat. It's such a mental block.
Yeah, because you're thinking, I want to lose fat. Why would I want to be adding fat into my diet?
One of the things I tell people to help them understand, there was a study that was done, and you can't actually eat 100% of any one macronutrient, but if you gave someone 100% fat, and they're like at the same calories, so they equal, right? So all the calories are the same, but it's 100% fat, 100% carbs, 100% protein. If you give someone 100% protein, they may lose, say 10 pounds. If you give them 100% fat, they may lose 20 pounds.
Wow.
At the same amount of calories. Now, excess calories are excess calories, and that can be converted.
Yeah.
Now, carbs, you're going to gain 10 pounds. So that's something to think about, is that fat actually tells your brain and your body that, hey, I've got fat coming in. I don't need to store fat.
But the other part of it too, and this is where it gets tricky, because if you think about it, even though my ketones went up to 2.4 after I had that coconut oil, the other part of that is a good question. It goes, okay, well, just logic tells you, right? If I'm feeding myself fat right now, and then my body has two choices, right? It can either use the fat that I'm ingesting, or it can burn the fat that I have. So it also goes to place, well, which is better? Should I not have the fat that I'm bringing in so that it'll eat more fat? Do you see what I'm saying?
Totally. And that's where fasting comes in.
Yeah.
So and that's why I like to not eat anything when I'm fasting. Not only just to give your digestive system a break. See, some people say you can eat like a couple light things or a little bit of this. But to me, I always want to give all the enzyme activity a break. Let those enzymes go to cleaning up damaged tissues and doing other things.
Right.
But to your point, if you're eating anything, then your body is utilizing whatever it is you ate sometimes, as opposed to tapping into your reserves. And that's where the longer you fast, your body gets more efficient at tapping into those reserves. And that's, again, part of the obesity problem in our country is we eat too often.
Yes.
It's chronic diseases in general. It's because it's 100% access, where, our ancestors would have times where they didn't have food. They wanted it, and it was painful not to have it, and they hated it, but they had no choice.
Yeah.
And now we live in a world where we don't ever have to experience that, and it's not good. So just like our ancestors had to climb trees and be active, now we have to go to the gym.
Yeah.
If not, we get unhealthy. So same thing with eating. Like, we were supposed to not eat all the time.
Right.
And that's how we, so if you eat all the time, you get sick.
All right, question 11. This is from Jenny. Hi, was just wondering if herbal teas or green tea were allowed while in fasting mode, along with your black coffee and black normal tea.
I would say yes. Again, the coffee and the tea really doesn't have a lot of calories, and it does actually stimulate fat processes. Caffeine will do that. So.
Yeah, the only thing you have to worry about with the herbal teas is some of them, a lot of them are like fruit infused. So they're like peach flavored or this flavored or that flavored. So as long as it's a regular herbal tea that's not like, fruit flavored.
And even the ones that are like infused.
Yeah, it's
when
not
you look
a big
at
deal.
If you look at the total carbohydrate content, it's like 0.
Yeah.
So it's just like a little flavoring. Yeah. So it's not
like,
that bad.
Don't focus on the minors. Like those are just so minor that you're going to see so little return on some of those little things.
Exactly.
So, okay. So what I want to do now, how much of that coffee have you drank?
About half.
Okay. All right. Take a couple more sips and let's see. We haven't quite given it enough time.
Yeah, I don't know what it takes, how long it takes for your body to react to something like that.
Yeah, so
I don't know.
For me, I usually wait like maybe 30 minutes to 45 minutes. So we're just going to see if it does. So
if it's not anything,
do you remember what it was?
85.
85. Okay,
Yep.
So take one more sip and let's see.
I bet it's doing something.
All right, let's just see what it is. And
Not to mention the cinnamon.
Ooh,
So cinnamon has that. Cinnamon
Isn't
has
that delicious?
Yeah, but it has
Oh
a
my
blood sugar
gosh.
lowering effect too.
Yep. Okay, I think it's still on the setting that you had it for you, so you can pick a finger.
Oh.
And again, he was already dehydrated to begin with, and now that coffee is going to make him a little bit more dehydrated. But let's see.
Okay, there you go. Okay.
All right, 2, 1, and 73.
Isn't that amazing?
What did I tell you?
That's amazing.
So it went down 8, and that
Yeah.
was barely any time. And that's what I've seen almost every time.
Yeah.
If you test it on yourself, how short of a time that was, it will drastically bring 1 tablespoon of coconut oil will bring your blood sugar down by 10 points.
That's
I mean,
pretty neat.
that's proof that we
That's
just
totally
did it.
cool.
You know?
That is cool.
Yeah. So
That's
that's
neat.
what will happen. So one of the things of suggestions that I have, which that you can use the coffee with coconut oil trick, is let's say you overdid it on a sweets. Okay, let's say you see what I'm saying? Because what happens is with people, right? They eat a whole bunch of sugar and they go right up here, and then they start, crashing down, and then they want to go back up again. But instead of, so if you had a bunch of sweets, if you have that coffee with the coconut oil, it'll bring it down so that it didn't on the way up on the spike, it didn't get up so high. What do you think about that?
So here's what I'll say about that. So 2 things. Number 1, what's happening now is we're in a stable situation. So what our body's doing is taking the MCT oil and utilizing it for energy, and that's lowering our blood sugar. But if you've got a lot of sugar in your body and your insulin spikes, then you need that insulin to push that glucose into your cells. So high insulin is not bad, just if it's all the time. If you're eating every day and you're constantly pushing insulin, your cells get resistant. So if you take more energy with the oil on top of the sugar, then you're gonna have an excess, and you're almost need more insulin to get, and then you might even take the fat and turn that into body fat. So I wouldn't say that would work, and that what it may help is if you're like in fasting state, and then you're starting to crash, you're starting to get kind of angry. Instead of eating carbohydrates, do this.
But the thing is, though, this is going to bring you down 10 more points. So if you're already getting angry,
we could do an experiment and say, okay, let's eat eat some sugar, right, and then try this.
Yes, we
and
need to
see
do
if
that.
It does it.
So next time we need to do that. So
my thought is that it won't work as well as the way it just did right now. If you have all that sugar in your body.
Yeah, so we need to test it out.
Yeah,
so maybe you could do it when you really want some sweets. Check it and see how it works.
We'll do another podcast.
We'll do another podcast.
We'll
Before
get
you
some,
come in, you're going to have Rice Krispie treats.
I was going to say, we need some Rice Krispie treats, and let's do it.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah. Well, good. Well,
cool.
Another amazing episode. Yeah. Thank you so much for being with us.
So fun.
And like I said, please watch this video. This one you will learn more out of and get so much more out of. You'll see the charts. You'll see the graphs. You'll get to see us drink the coffee. Definitely watch this one. And if you want your questions answered, go to questions@chantelrayway.com, or you can text us at 757-412-9278. That's 757-412-9278. And we're happy to answer your questions. And remember, it might take us a couple weeks to answer because we are getting a lot of questions, but we want to hear from you. Thanks for joining us, and thank you for being with us. Always an amazing guest.
Thanks for having me. I had a great time.
See you guys next time.